Don't worry, you're not seeing double. You join me here today with two Renault Zoes built just 7 years apart. This Zoe got a 5-star Euro NCAP safety rating when it was tested in 2013. However, the Zoe ZE50, like this one, got 0 stars when tested in 2021. What's going on? Well, that's what we'll cover in today's video. So these two cars are covered by two different Euro NCAP safety tests that fell about 8 years apart. The test changes every couple of years in order to help encourage the improvement in safety, but cars are not retested every time that the tests are changed. It's not all that uncommon for cars that are not modified or improved during their life cycle to fall down the scale as they age. Safety is continually improving. It's a moving target in terms of the way Euro NCAP do their testing. Now, the latest safety test added a new emphasis on active safety. That is technology that can avoid a crash in the first place. The ZE50 was given active safety equipment during its redesign, during the mid-cycle refresh that this car went through. So it isn't true to say that it hasn't changed and it hasn't improved. However, the Zoe suffers from a few problems that would not help its safety score. There are a few imperfections that we need to discuss. Firstly, active safety is very limited on the base model, the Zen, which is what Euro NCAP always test. They always test the base model of a car in any range. You see, Euro NCAP believe that safety should be available as standard, and Renault didn't do that with the Zoe. This makes a big difference to the overall score. They only got 14% in the safety assist category, and I think that has a big impact on the overall rating. Furthermore, the design of the airbags on the ZE50 seems to have changed, and they are no longer able to protect the head of an occupant in a collision. We can see, if we look at the two safety reports from the Euro NCAP website, that side head airbag is listed in 2013 as a safety feature, but it is not listed as a safety feature in the 2021 test report. So what's changed? Well, it certainly seems a bit unfortunate if they have changed the design of the airbag and it is now less effective. Why would they have done that? Well, maybe it isn't less effective. Is it somehow intended to improve safety? Were the airbags at risk of injuring people inside the car? And Renault found in real-world usage that a smaller airbag was actually safer some way. I'm not sure. I do have one theory, and that's that the way that the old car protected the head was a very large airbag that came out of the seat and protects both the thorax and the head. And I wonder whether it's possible that that airbag could be damaged in an accident, perhaps being punctured, and therefore result in less effective protection to the body and the head as a result of that. But I don't know that. I'm not a safety expert, and so I'm not sure at all. Was it a step forward or was it a step backwards? I really don't know. But I do want to put this information into context. Cars above the base trim of the Renault Zoe do contain lots of active safety features that were not tested, and therefore my car would not get 0 stars were it to be tested, but that's just not the way that Euro NCAP works. And in comparison to my other car, my current Smart 4.2 doesn't have any side airbags at all. And so for me, the Renault Zoe, the ZE50 here, is a step forward in terms of safety, particularly because of all of those active safety features, which my Smart 4.2 doesn't have either. So I guess the question you need to consider is like-for-like comparison with your current car and with what else is on the market. Doing more research into this particular story, I found an article by a site called World Today News from the 14th of December 2021 on the new Euro NCAP safety rating that the Zoe had received. That article quoted a German publication called Auto, Motor und Sport, who had spoken to sources at Renault about the outcome of the tests and about some of the changes that have been made to the car. Those sources said that Renault had engaged a third-party company called the Laboratory of Injuries, Biomechanics and Human Behaviour, which, as I'm sure you can understand, I will call LAB for short in the rest of the video. And that appears to have been a part of the work done during the mid-cycle refresh on the Renault Zoe. LAB investigated 300,000 real-world incidents and found that none of them involved a side-on collision against a narrow pole or tree, as is done in the Euro NCAP tests. But importantly, LAB also felt that the original airbag style fitted to the early cars could cause injury in certain other types of accidents due to the distribution of air in an airbag of that type. Additionally, the Renault sources being interviewed said that the difference in cost between the old and new airbag types was only €2 to €3 per car. Price, these sources said, was not the reason for the change, as some other media outlets had suggested. What we appear to have then is a disparity between the very specific test scenarios performed in Euro NCAP tests and the analysis of real-world collisions by a research body. Who is correct? Well, it's hard to say, but certainly the Zoe's reputation is all the worse for this disparity. The question still remains, how safe is the Zoe ZE50? How could the Zoe have rated if not for these issues discussed so far? Well, let's dive in and take a closer look together. The information on which this section is based is all available publicly, and I've put links in the description to any of the information I'm going to use here so that you can look into more detail if you want to. Based upon information from a document on the Euro NCAP website linked below, we can have a look at how the scores obtained during testing are converted into star ratings at the end of the process. This table shows the scores needed in each category in order to achieve certain star ratings in the 2021 version of the Euro NCAP tests. The leftmost column is the star rating, and the other four columns represent the categories into which tests are grouped. The figures in those columns show the scores that must be attained in each scoring category for that star rating to apply. All the scores in a row must be met or exceeded for that star rating to be achieved. So we work up from the bottom in order to achieve a rating. In practice, what this means is that the score is effectively capped by the first failure, the lowest score versus pass mark in any category. So a poor score in a single category can have a significant impact on the overall rating. If we now put the scores the Zoe received underneath the table, we can start to see how it fared and how things might have been a bit different. With only a 14% rating in the rightmost safety assist category, it wasn't possible for the Zoe to get any stars, no matter what happened in the other columns. But remember, safety assistance is fitted to most Zoes, just not to the base variant that was tested. If we ignore the safety assist category for a minute and look at the other figures, let's see what else we can find. So the score that the Zoe obtained for the adult occupant category, the second column, is only good enough for 1 star, but this of course is influenced by the airbag issue we've been discussing. The discrepancy between the Euro NCAP and lab findings throw doubt on this. So what else can we see? The score in the pedestrian category was high enough for 3 stars, but the score in the child occupant category was only good enough for 2 stars. So maybe my Zoe might be a 2-star car, at least between 1 and 2 perhaps. From what I've seen, it doesn't appear to be unusual for a car to drop 2 or 3 stars between tests. That's usually 6, 7, 8 years if the car is retested. A drop of 3 stars from 5 to 2 would not have suggested the Zoe was quite as unsafe as a drop to 0 stars. Now, to be clear, you cannot pick and choose scores like this. This is not how the testing works. I'm just talking through some other scenarios. But I do wonder if it might be a slightly fairer representation of the true state of affairs for my car, which does have the safety assist features fitted. After all, the whole safety assist category is an addition since the original testing on Zoe from 2013. Euro NCAP now considers these important when they were not even a part of the test when the car was first launched. I'm all for safety improvements, and I appreciate the huge advances that the Euro NCAP testing has brought about in the safety of all cars. But I do wonder if the story of Zoe's fall from grace might indicate that we are moving just a little bit too quickly. In these slightly austere times, when we are seeing very high inflation and prices are rising very quickly, and we are in the midst of a huge energy transition as well, should we perhaps consider slowing the pace at which manufacturers are required to add more and more expensive safety equipment as standard to even their budget family runarounds? I think this is especially a problem when EVs carry a premium in their purchase price over internal combustion engine equivalents. Now, while preparing this video, I realised that there was a wonderful irony to this story. During this switch to EVs, everyone is busy debating whether the main traction battery in an EV will last 15 years or 20 years or more. Yet, because of the rapid ramping of the Euro NCAP testing procedure, with the test upgraded every 2 years, and the subsequent reduction of scores of every car on each retest as a result, a car would generally fall off the bottom of the safety ratings in about 10 to 12 years. Does that mean that cars older than this should be shunned for their poor safety standards and scrapped, despite their still perfectly functional traction battery? It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Cars could get scrapped for many reasons other than the state of health of their battery. Maybe this is yet another nail in the coffin of that particular concern. In reality, state of health is unlikely to be a problem. EVs will probably reach the end of their life for reasons other than just that one in the majority of cases. What I suggest to you is don't worry about the battery. So in summary, Zoe has suffered from Renault not fitting active safety features to the base trim level, which does seem a bit unfortunate. This lowers the safety assist score to just 14%, which I think has a big impact on the overall rating, the number of stars you get. Furthermore, changes to the side airbags in the ZE50 also seems to have had a detrimental effect on the outcome, although it's more difficult to say how much of an impact that would have had. Now, safety is a very personal choice. If you're considering the Renault Zoe, you need to consider if you are comfortable with the level of safety it offers relative to what your current car has. Is the Zoe still a step forward from what you already have? And compare it to other things that are available on the market. Certainly my advice would be to go up from the base trim level in order to get those active safety features, because that's a pretty straightforward change that you can make in order to improve things. Now, for balance, I ought to point out that Renault have made statements about the outcome of the Euro NCAP retest. In statements, Renault have reaffirmed that the Zoe is a safe car which complies with all regulatory safety standards. And I think we should also remember that Renault may have felt it important to prioritise active safety features because an accident avoided is the best outcome for everyone. Well, that's it for another video. Thanks very much for joining me. Your questions and comments are most welcome in the section below. If you've liked the video, then it's a help to me if you click the thumbs up button. That shows YouTube that you've enjoyed it, and YouTube may promote it to other people who might enjoy it as well. And of course, click subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks.